Living in East LA, especially in the '80s, man, I am very, very fortunate to have had the father that I had. That kept me in boxing and kept me doing sports, and kept me off the streets, man. Because just walking from my house to school, you could always find trouble, especially after school. There'll be gang members just hanging out, just always offering you stuff, just hanging like, hey, what's up? What's going on? Where you going? Home. Oh, bro, just hang out with us for a little bit. Just chill out. Like, nah, I gotta get home or else my dad whoop my ass.
Coming from a Mexican-American family, Chris always saw the grind firsthand.
They woke up every morning, at 6 in the morning, 5 in the morning, and I had to wake up and I had to get myself ready to go to school because, I knew they had a struggle. I knew that, that they're out there just grinding, and I had to go with them a couple times to go work, do some construction in the summer. So it was tough, man. It was some tough times, but I always respected their grind and, the respect they had for one another, and not only themselves, each other, but for other people.
Talking about those days, I heard even your nickname, The Nightmare, came even much before boxing was even involved. Could you kind of explain that story and how that kind of came about?
Yeah, man. So my friend, rest in peace, Alex, we were gonna go out that night, and we had to get a haircut. And I'm like, I didn't want to wait, so I went to go get a haircut by someone else, and they fucked my hair up. I had like a faux hawk, and that wasn't even fashionable at the time at all. So I had to fucking shave it, and I had to shave it with a messed up razor, So it nicked me up all of my head and stuff. So I had a bunch of nicks in my head, like razor burns and stuff like that. And at the moment, I had a lot of acne. And my friend came over to pick me up, and he goes, "What the fuck? You look like fucking Freddy Krueger." It went from Freddy to Krueger to the Nightmare. It just evolved. But yeah, it all because a messed up haircut, man.
From the very beginning, boxing was a family affair. Chris's father himself, a boxer and later trainer, brought his son into the gym as early as 7 years old.
When he started training people, it motivated me to want to impress him because he didn't want to train me. He had Hector Rodriguez, rest in peace, which was a great coach, a great trainer, and I'm fortunate to have had him as a trainer also because he taught me a lot. And my dad just watching me was the best, The main thing was that he was there. He was there. Sometimes it's just hard to do that. It is, especially when they have to work so much and stuff, and being a Mexican like that.
By the late 1980s, a young Chris began competing as an amateur. In his very first fight in Westminster, California, his father promised him that if he came away with a win, he'd earn a small boxing glove keychain.
I went in there and I beat the shit out of this kid, and I loved it. In Southern California, every weekend there used to be a boxing event. Every weekend. So you can imagine from 89, 90, 91, 92, I've seen so many boxers. The community just becomes small. It just becomes small because we all know each other. We may fight each other maybe 3 times in 4 or 5 years, because at the end of the day, we're in a tournament and stuff like that. And one day you'll fight a boxer. One day you'll fight a slugger. One day you'll fight an orthodox, southpaw. So you gotta learn, and you gotta learn on the go. So that's one thing that prepares you also to the professional ranks.
After racking up nearly 200 amateur fights, Chris was ready. The gloves got smaller, the lights got brighter, and the crowds grew louder.
The first thing that I remember is when I put the gloves on. And I'm like, fuck, I didn't have no headgear. And the gloves are so tiny, and I hit myself. And I told him, I'm like, damn, bro, fucking, this motherfucker's gonna hit me with that?
They've always been different sizes. Perfect right hand, and Minto goes down on his knees.
And he goes, yeah, you're gonna hit him with those too, so make sure you hit him first. I made sure that happened because I didn't want to get hit with those fucking little gloves and those fucking big ass hands. The amateurs helped me in the transition in the professionals. It helped a lot, tremendously, because in the amateurs, like, there's times that you will fight in front of thousands of people. All those sparring sessions that you had with different fighters and watching different fighters. So I wasn't only a boxer, but I was also a student of the sport.
When the time came to step into the bright lights of Las Vegas for the first time, an opportunity presented itself on the undercard of Mayweather vs. Baldomir against fellow California heavyweight Damian Wills. Wills was an undefeated heavyweight at the time, who was also managed by a very familiar face in Hollywood, Denzel Washington. And you were both undefeated at the time, and there was kind of a sense that this fight would determine who was the best heavyweight in California. What made that fight so significant at that point of your career?
You hit the nail in the coffin because we're both undefeated and we're both basically who's gonna go up, who's gonna go down, who's gonna keep rising, and who's gonna,
Meanwhile, we're going to start you off in the heavyweight division tonight, where we've got a showdown that's been brewing for quite some time between two unbeaten Southern California heavyweights. They have heard each other's names a great deal.
Two undefeated fighters, somebody's has gotta go.
It was one of my first major fight. That was a pay-per-view fight. That was the first pay-per-view fight I was ever part of. I also wanted to put on a show. That's one thing that I really, really wanted to do.
And Arreola starts things off with a right hand to the body. Wills offers a right hand to the body in return. And because if it's below the eyebrow, it could be very troublesome.
First punch, a punch between the gloves landed.
I wanted to put on a show for everyone to see me for the first time and say, hello, America, here I am. I just beat the best California heavyweight.
Now Arreola gets a right through once again. And Arreola seems to be beginning to loosen up behind his jab.
Chris credits his performance to his grueling training camp in Big Bear, where he trained with former heavyweight champion Hasim Rock.
I learned a lot from him, how to not get hit because he hit harder than shit and he trained hard. Yeah, that was a tough training camp, and I put a lot into that fight because it was important to me.
And in round 7, his work had paid off.
Wills' hands are dropped and Kenny Bayless stops the fight. Big win for Cristobal Arreola, unbeaten.
Because it was a badge of honor to say I'm the best in California, but I was gonna be the best in the world.
He is still undefeated, 18-0, 16 KOs. Chris, the Nightmare Arreola.
I can imagine after that win, I know you said there are moments where you don't feel as much pressure, but being one of the few Mexican-American heavyweights with title potential now, how do you deal with expectations that come with something like that?
Honestly, I felt no pressure at all. I did not feel no pressure. I was thriving with the pressure. I was enjoying the pressure. And maybe I enjoyed it a little too much. Toward the middle, maybe I was doing it too much, but yeah, I thrived with the pressure. I enjoyed the pressure, and I loved going to the gym. I enjoyed going to the gym. It wasn't a chore to go to the gym. To me, boxing was boxing. After a while, boxing becomes a lot of talk. They're like, oh, he's not ripped, he doesn't look good, and this and that, he's fat. And it's like, God damn it. That pressure starts getting to you. They're trying to fucking look like Tarzan and stuff like that. Nah, man. I'd rather fight like a beast than look like Tarzan.
While piling up wins, Chris continued to attract the eyes of fans with his all-action style. However, on a Thursday afternoon, he received a call for a late-notice step-up for the biggest fight of his life.
From Kiev, Ukraine, and Hamburg, Germany, the reigning, defending heavyweight champion of the world, Vitali Klitschko.
Vitali Klitschko was a fearsome and strategically intelligent fighter known for his brutal punching power.
Johnson having trouble
Chris Arreola was left with 5 weeks to prepare for this mountain of a heavyweight.
Once I got that call, like, I made camp. I started Monday. You can't turn stuff like that down. You really can't. Especially if you're in the sport that you love and you want to be the first and you want to be a champion. You want to prove everyone that believed in you right and everyone that believed that didn't believe in you wrong. It was motivating. It was very motivating. All through that fight, I was motivated in training camp. I was in no shape to be going 12 rounds with the great Vitali Klitschko. That training camp was rough, man. But big shout out goes out to Daryl Hudson, because he got my ass in shape in 5 weeks, man. He had me running. People thought that I was, when we were training in the community college there, people thought I was in football because I was running lines. He had me doing drills, football drills and stuff like that. But I needed that. I needed that to go as far as I did with a beast like Klitschko.
Los Angeles, California, USA, the WBC Heavyweight Championship of the World.
This is tremendous opportunity night for Chris Arreola, who becomes a giant star if he can upset Vitali Klitschko.
Could this be the great American hope who goes to a Klitschko not to die?
I remember walking in, me and Henry were walking into a tunnel, and I see Magic Johnson. And he shakes my hand, he's like, everyone's here to see you, man. Everyone's here to see you. Dude, I'm sitting in the locker room, Mike Tyson walks in, and he's telling me, come on, man, like giving me advice, and it's pretty surreal, man. The walkout, I will never forget. I was Run This Town, that song. And it was electric. The stadium was just rocking. The fans were just cheering. It was it's hard to describe how you feel because you're so motivated and you're so in the moment that you just want this thing to start already.
The main event of the evening, 12 rounds of boxing for the World Boxing Council Heavyweight Championship of the World.
That part was so, once you get in the ring, to me, the most nervous part is from that part to the bell rings. I can't wait for it to start.
Vitali Klitschko is throwing jabs, right hands, uppercuts, body shots, and Arreola is having trouble finding the distance from which to get started.
Gotta find a way to get inside Arreola if he wants to stay in this fight.
He's standing right in front of Vitali Klitschko. You can't do it.
How long can he go on taking this kind of punishment?
You gotta pressure him. You gotta keep coming to him, right?
Come on, Chris, I gotta see more.
Blood coming now from the nostrils of Chris Arreola.
Too heavy a price trying to get inside him.
And honestly, as much as I was mad at Henry at that moment, I thank him for stopping that fight, because I would have kept going and I probably would have been, a lot hurt much worse than I was that night, and I'm thankful for that, because he saved me from myself. I'm a fighter and I love what I do, and I wouldn't quit on myself, and he saved me from myself. One of the main things was I feel like I let everyone down. I felt like, especially, I felt like I left my dad down. I felt so bad for my dad, more than I feel bad for myself. Like, I felt like I left my family down, I left the people down, and that's why it was so hard. And I was crying. I was crying like I couldn't control it. I couldn't control it like at all, because I was dejected. I was beyond dejected, because I believed that I deserved that title, but obviously I didn't because Vitali was just a bad man.
He did give a hell of a good effort. He was just in with a better and a bigger man.
Despite his setback, Chris continued to push on and entertain the fans by racking up multiple knockout wins in the heavyweight division. Now entering a new chapter in his career, he decided to join forces with one of the most respected and recognizable trainers in the sport, Hall of Fame coach Joe Goossen.
First of all, Joe Goossen is one of my favorite fucking people in this world. With his denim vest, his denim jackets, every day he has different colored denim. Hey, but when it's time to work, it's time to work. He hawks you. Like, his eyes were on me 24, like, as I'm there, his eyes are on me. If I'm working a speed bag, his eyes are on me and he tells me, keep your hands up. When you do this, do that. Like, as I'm working, he doesn't need to stop me to, you know what I mean?
With Chris now finding new guidance under Joe Goossen, the next step was to find a new opponent. Adam Kownacki was a Polish heavyweight making a splash in the heavyweight division. Looking to challenge his potential title contender was none other than Chris Arreola in a scheduled 12-round main event in Brooklyn, New York. It was seen as a fight between a potential new face of the weight class against a veteran who was not going anywhere. With the styles that these two bring to the table, many expected a fun scrap, but no one expected the output they would put forth.
Kownacki's just coming straight at him. He's not going to take a backward step right now.
Yeah, I knew exactly what was going to happen. This is it. It's a slugfest, and they're both cracking each other hard.
I knew that I was going to have one of those kind of battles with Adam, dude, because he was one of those come forward, let's rock 'em, sock 'em robots.
Great stuff, guys, and a great start to this heavyweight bout.
There were a lot of rounds in there that I believe I won that they gave to Adam, obviously because we were in fucking his backyard, you know, but all respects go out to Adam. Like, I enjoyed that fight. That was one of my favorite fights because it was just non-stop action, non-stop. There was this, I believe, I don't remember if it was like the third or fourth round. I just remembered this part where Adam hit me with this right hand and he buckled, he hurt me.
Earlier, it's your first time seeing Kownacki up close. Oh, doing some Arreola got hurt.
And I grabbed him and I was grabbing the ropes. I rarely grab the ropes. And there's a guy that yells out, "Let go of the ropes, bitch!" And I look at him like, But I remember that dude, and then I seen him after the fight. I'm like, "You called me a bitch." I was like, "You remember?" I was like, "Yeah, bro, I wasn't letting go of those ropes." So yeah, but the fight was fun. It was one of my favorite fights because it was like you said, rock 'em, sock 'em. Let's just, you throw a punch, I'm throwing a punch. I'm gonna throw a good combination, but it was fun.
Kownacki and Arreola go the distance in Brooklyn.
Together, the two would throw a total of 2,172 punches, setting a new CompuBox record for most punches thrown in a heavyweight fight.
I don't even know how the fuck we did that because, you know, usually if you get hit by a heavyweight, you're going to go to sleep. Like, if I'm watching like a middleweight or a welterweight and they throw less punches than me, I'm like, dude, the fuck is this? I'll throw more punches than these guys. You know what I mean?
Chris delivered a remarkable performance against former heavyweight champion Andy Ruiz and closed out his career with a knockout win over Matthew McKinney in an untelevised preliminary fight. Yet more than 2 years since that last bout, one lingering thought still weighs on his mind.
I miss being in the ring, to be honest with you. You know, that's one thing that I've been missing is that hunger again. And but I enjoy being a dad. I enjoy going to fucking baseball games.
And I know you said your son wants to get into pro baseball. Even though it's a different sport, what lessons from your own journey as a professional athlete do you hope to pass on to him, both about just competition and life outside the game as well?
Don't quit. Because man, if I would have stopped, shit, God knows where we could have been, where I would have been. God knows where he would have been. If I would have quit, if I would have stopped boxing, you know, when everybody else stopped, you know, I would have been, I remember that guy from back in the day. Whatever happened to him? You know, I didn't want to be that guy.
This is my last question for you here. I just want to say, before you said when looking back at your career that there was no regrets because you love yourself, the good and the bad. And when you look back in your entire career, how does that attitude just kind of influence the way you went through everything from your biggest victories to even your toughest nights?
My I don't give a fuck attitude, basically. You know, that's where it all got me. I'm personally grateful that I have that attitude because, you know, if you believe in yourself, you got to keep pushing. You got to keep pushing. And you can't just say, this is enough, because it's never enough. There's someone else that's going to try to do better than you.